Vanimo town prepare for 28-day lockdown. Medical supplies delivered under Pacific Humanitarian Pathway. And opposition leader says PNG's national security breached.
This is National EMTV News with Jeremy Mogi.
Welcome, this is Thursday's news. Vanimo town will go into a lockdown for 28 days effective as of today, following the first COVID-19 case reported in the border province. The COVID-19 patient is a male adult who flew into Vanimo on a commercial flight on July the 31st after attending a workshop in Port Moresby. Other measures the provincial COVID-19 task force team has outlined include the restriction of movement within the 4 districts and the closure of schools and church gatherings for the next 28 days.
In a circular to the National Pandemic Controller, David Manning, dated 5th of August 2020, the West Pacific Provincial Advisory Committee for COVID-19 stated it detected its first positive case in Vanimo through gene expert testing. The details provided to the National Command Center revealed that the male adult developed symptoms on Tuesday and presented himself at the hospital. Upon testing, the male adult was declared a positive case and reported as the first for the border province. In response to this, the provincial committee outlined at least 9 steps the province will take as preventative measures against the possible spread of COVID-19. These 9 measures include the immediate suspension of flights into Vanimo from Port Moresby, and the closure of all schools and other public gatherings for the next 28 days. However, in Port Moresby this afternoon, local MP Belden Nama says the report of the first COVID-19 case is false, and the 2 signatories in the letter to Manning are not professional doctors.
So I'm really alarmed when they declared first COVID-19 case in Vanimo. I know the CEO of Vanimo General Hospital is not a doctor by profession. He's just an administrator, come CEO for Vanimo General Hospital. And I know the CEO, the controller is a deputy provincial administrator, who is not the CEO, who is not the doctor by profession, whether doctor as in medical doctor. So these are the 2 people who signed a letter to say that we have COVID-19 first case in Vanimo. How credible would that be? And not only that letter, I've checked physically with a patient that they say he's a first COVID-19 patient.
Meanwhile, on the southern PNG Indonesian border province of Western, Octady Mining Limited released a statement recording 7 positive cases in Kyunga and Tabubil and the closure of the mine for the next 14 days. The source of transmission in Western Province is also from a male adult who flew into Kyunga on a commercial flight on the 31st of July. With the spread of coronavirus through transmission from persons traveling out of Port Moresby considered a high-risk area, the question on why the command center is allowing commercial flights to continue operating has not been properly answered by either the controller or the Prime Minister.
There's never been any restrictions on flights. Flights have been operating normally.
Meanwhile, as of last night, Port Moresby has reported over 35 new cases of COVID-19, with a total of 153 cases reported nationwide. Thaklagunga, National EMTV News.
Governor General Grand Chief Sir Bob Dadai has authorized for the PNG Defence Force to provide assistance for police to maintain law and order during the COVID-19 operations in the country. In a government gazette released today, the Defence Force will assist police from Sunday the 1st of August to Sunday the 1st of November 2020. It's a move that has left opposition leader Belden Nama none too happy.
2 companies have been asked to be deployed in Port Moresby. And they're going to go and start to arrest our citizens. I'm warning the Prime Minister to withdraw that directive immediately. This is not a law and order situation. This is a national health, but this is a public health situation. It's not a law and order situation, it's a public health situation. And I'm hearing that there was a briefing yesterday that the Prime Minister has ordered the deployment of soldiers in the streets of Port Moresby. And you will see, as of today, there will be police and Defence Force presence everywhere. And I'm here to speak for the people of this country. I will not allow that to happen. Our people are peace-loving citizens. Since the lockdown, people have not done anything to destroy their cities or towns, except the increase of lawlessness, because people are now scavenging for survival.
Women in Port Moresby are now cashing in on the mask business as the demand for reusable or non-medical masks increase. This comes as the Prime Minister announced that people should be wearing masks in public places. Bradley Valenaki with this story.
At one of the inner streets at Manwater Port in the nation's capital, a roadside market is a stopover for the vehicles. Here, displays of hanging reusable masks are pegged outside for the day. They go for 5 kina a piece.
Because of this last sickness, COVID-19, and come low PNG, that's why me start sewing all this la. Alright. Skills me got me sewing all and me cooking all outside. Okay.
So Lucy Pita, 53-year-old from Rigo in the Central Province, is behind the small mask making business, cashing in on every opportunity.
Because it's me and Mary Blossom up and giving me all sample law, katim na sumakim so me try now me kisim na me oklo sumakim. Plant line will come stop local only buy finisi me go me book about lolo boroko me buy can me come.
In another part of the city, further down at Sabama's Mamutu Street, a long-time resident is doing much of the work manually on the old sewing machine. She is 75-year-old Leah Miria.
Also, cause this is sick, no good them come up finish. So man, Mary only like you go out or by passing mouse and all by go. So plant your come and ask you, Mama, you can swap with this land. Me tribe does.
An old face here for the last 34 years. Life hasn't been easy.
Me also, we don't marry. Man blow me to and I mean no God. Me we don't straight. So me walk low, making this a little walk now. Me looking degree kaikai me 5 na me kaikai na misli.
The struggles of the times and the restrictions have offered her a chance to cash in. For the lowest price we've seen in the city, she is selling her washable face masks for just a kina.
Me that's all me make it 1 kina. So plant your come na kisi.
The Prime Minister, James Marape, announced that masks are mandatory in Port Moresby, a precautionary measure which, together with physical distancing and proper hand hygiene, are currently the best defense against COVID-19. While the fabric masks are not medically manufactured, they still provide a protective face covering while in close contact with people and in areas where physical distancing remains a challenge. Bradley Valenaki, National EMTV News.
This is EMTV National News. More stories after the break. Welcome back. In less than a week, Bougainvilleans will be electing new leaders in the region's 4th House of Representatives. The campaign period is set to end with polling to start next week on the 12th of August. Polling for outside centres will take place in 6 provinces, the NCD, Morobe, Madang, Eastern Highlands and East and West New Britain. 25 candidates are vying for the president's seat in this year's election. Other seats include the constituencies, women's and ex-combatant seats for the North, Central and South Bougainville districts. Polling for outside centres will end on the 18th of August, while polling on Bougainville will continue until the 21st. The Bougainville election this year is considered significant because leaders voted in will be negotiating with the national government on the future of Bougainville. 3 tons of essential medical supplies were flown into Port Moresby today from Fiji to assist in PNG's fight against COVID-19. This is part of the Pacific Humanitarian Pathway on COVID-19, which is a regional coordination platform established by the 18 countries of the Pacific Islands Forum. The program is aimed at facilitating timely and rapid movement of medical and humanitarian assistance across the Pacific region.
The maiden flight touched down at the Jackson's International Airport from Nadi, Fiji, just after 1 p.m. today. The flight was funded by the Australian government.
Australia is very pleased that we are able to support with $3 million the establishment of Pacific Air Services to be able to bring equipment to all the Pacific Island PIF nations. It's part of the Pacific Humanitarian Pathway.
The medical supplies include protective masks, suits, gloves, thermometers and ventilators.
The Pacific Humanitarian Pathway is an initiative that was launched under the initiative of the Pacific Islands Forum, and it was an idea that was driven by Dame Meg Taylor, which all Papua New Guineans know very well. The UN is proud to be partnering with the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat and is appreciative of the support of the government of Australia that is financing the air services. It is the UN World Food Programme that is operating these air services that would allow all the Pacific states to be able to access humanitarian supplies and allow for humanitarian and medical personnel to move among the different Pacific islands that have been heavily affected by the restrictions in terms of transport.
Health Minister Jelta Wong was joined by Controller and Police Commissioner David Manning and Deputy Controller Dr. Paisen Dakulala, as well as other dignitaries to receive the equipment at the APAC terminal.
As you can see, it's a joint operation between Australia, WHO and UNICEF, the European Union and everything. I want to thank the Jack Ma Foundation for donating more PPE gear and respirators to our country. These are equipment and machinery that we desperately need as our numbers are rising. As we've always said, everyone has to be aware and not to be complacent.
According to Dr. Dakulala, the equipment will be stored at the storage warehouse in Port Moresby and delivered to the areas where needed. The closure of airports and grounding of aircraft as a result of COVID-19 prevention measures has dramatically reduced commercial air services, placing stress on the Pacific region's supply chains. This has made it difficult for humanitarian and health organizations to get vital supplies and personnel to where they are needed most. Dennis Orere, National EMTV News.
The Constitutional and Law Reform Commission, or CLRC, has completed the final report on the review of laws on the use and abuse of alcohol and drugs. The report proposed 21 legal, policy and administrative recommendations aimed at assisting the government and relevant institutions to develop a policy and also amend current laws to be compatible with current settings. CLRC Secretary Dr. Mange Matui says the report and recommendations come handy at a crucial time when PNG is faced with outdated laws that fail to capture changing trends. This is in relation to alcohol and drug-related issues, including the recent drug bust in Papalea in Central Province. The report is expected to be presented to the government this month for tabling in Parliament. Prime Minister James Marape says Beirut New Guinea Limited does not own nor have any rights over any mineral deposits at the PNG Gold Mine as its mining lease has expired. The Prime Minister was responding To questions by a caller during the FM 100 radio talkback show in Port Moresby this morning, he said the government wants to own and operate the mine under new terms and conditions, and there is no intention to let the mine remain closed for long. Prime Minister Marape said the government is slowly working with the PNG trade unions and other stakeholders to look into the issue of taxation on the employees who have been affected directly or indirectly.
They have no right to offer us. Their lease is expired. They don't own anything anymore. In fact, in compliance to Mining Act, we've issued them within 30 days required. We've issued them notice to purchase the assets, and we've indicated to them we want to operate the mine if they don't want to be the operator under new arrangements. They agreed for what we have up there in program is causing distress. And I'm sorry for these sort of Papua New Guineans who are affected. We will look into trying to help them in the medium term or immediate as we resuscitate the mines. First consideration will be given to every Papua New Guineans who have been affected, including contractors and subcontractors.
The Board of Petroleum Resources, GOBE, today welcomed the decision of the National Fraud and Anti-Corruption Directorate to clear a financial transaction from 2018. PRG Chairman Matthew Sisimolu said they have been advised that police have found no criminality in the transaction. It was alleged that 32 million kina was fraudulently applied by the MRDC management to the benefit of two other MRDC affiliate companies. The decision by police to discontinue the case and close the file was conveyed to MRDC and its lawyers in a letter on June the 15th, 2020. The PRG board will now focus on delivering a number of community projects in villages in the project area. And now looking at the NASFAN market report, the kina opened unchanged at $0.2880 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina is buying $0.2805 $0.3855 Australian dollars, $0.2281 euro, and 28.98 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee closed lower, cocoa and copra closed higher. Crude oil is trading higher, palm oil closed lower, while copper closed lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 373.05 points higher. The ASX 200 is trading at 36.26 points lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 30.60 points lower. When we return, we bring you news making headlines overseas. Overseas, and fury is mounting in Lebanon's capital after the mega blast which destroyed much of Beirut, once known as the Paris of the Middle East. 3,000 people are left homeless, more than 5,000 people are injured. The death toll is now officially 135, and that's almost sure to rise, with hundreds more having been reported missing. Angry residents now demanding to know why 3,000 tons of an explosive fertilizer was stored so centrally.
The sheer magnitude of what struck Beirut is breathtaking. How could anyone survive this? But rescuers must still scour this mangled mess equipped with little more than hope. After 16 hours trapped, this man was found alive, one of the few lucky ones in a nation fractured by ill fortune. The death toll continues to climb. This funeral for a nurse, leaving behind her husband and 2-year-old child.
She was a hero. She's saving people, and she died.
Some hospitals too damaged to operate. Those that can struggle on, full.
The hospitals couldn't take us. There were no rooms anymore, nothing.
Medical staff labelling the scenes apocalyptic. This baby, just 4 days old, was showered with glass and debris. She's now fighting for her life.
I tried to protect her, but I couldn't do more than this.
This was the moment it started. A ferocious ferocious fire that brought many to their windows to watch. Then shell shock turning to anger. Here, locals looking for someone to blame attack the former Prime Minister's convoy. The current president vowing to punish those responsible, placing under house arrest officials in charge of the warehouse holding nearly 3,000 tonnes of explosive fertiliser. Reports are emerging that repeated warnings were ignored. This level of destruction would devastate even rich, powerful nations. But Lebanon was already staggering through economic collapse, political meltdown and COVID-19. This smouldering wasteland is what's left of the port, the nation's lone lifeline.
This is the point through which we got our wheat, our gas oil, our medicine.
And vital supplies of wheat now spilt across the ruins. All too much for many to bear.
I'm leaving tomorrow. I can't stay here.
Foreign aid has started arriving. New Zealand is giving the Red Cross $500,000 for medical and humanitarian care.
As you've heard, nearly 3,000 tons of ammonium nitrate was stored at the port. It's a chemical used around the world, but storing it can be a problem. This report now shows us what the chemical is and why it can cause such destruction.
It began as a very large blaze, a towering grey column and flashes from what looked like fireworks. But worse was to follow. A massive explosion. And as it erupted, an important clue emerged in the colour of the smoke, a reddish brown, which meant that ammonium nitrate was involved in vast quantities. So what is this substance, ammonium nitrate? Well, it's a chemical mainly used as a fertiliser. Farmers in the UK and all over the world apply it to their fields. And on its own, there's no danger. But this powder can also be used as an ingredient for explosives. It was favoured by the IRA. This was the London Docklands bombing in 1996, and Scotland Yard persuaded farmers to guard their supplies carefully.
We did a great deal of work informing those that had access to it, that stored it, how dangerous it was, how it should be stored so that if there was an explosion, it wouldn't propagate.
Why is ammonium nitrate so potentially dangerous? Well, in certain conditions, it can become unstable. This vast explosion in China 5 years ago involved a quarter of the quantity that erupted yesterday. The explosion in Beirut happened in the worst possible place, right in the port with a lot of buildings around, and the impact would have been felt in several different ways. First, a shock wave, leading to a sudden increase in pressure which would have killed people nearby. Then a wave of debris, chunks of concrete and glass hurled through the air maybe a mile or more. And then a cloud of toxic gases and dust carried by the wind right over the city. So why was the ammonium nitrate there in the first place? In the aftermath, there are no clear answers. All of the port's officials are now under house arrest while an investigation starts. Whatever happened, a deliberate detonation can't be ruled out, but nor can neglect and carelessness.
There is probably enough problems within the infrastructure of Lebanon to explain poor storage practices, poor chemical accounting.
Whatever the cause, the recovery will take years.
3 million Americans are right now without power as Tropical Storm Isaias has made landfall in the United States, sweeping up the East Coast, leaving a trail of destruction.
Tonight, the winds, rain, and storm surge from Isaias taking lives, carving the East Coast, and hitting major cities in the Northeast as a powerful tropical storm. Trees down across New York City, this one killing a 60-year-old man in Queens. The heavy rain quickly flooding roads and trapping drivers on Interstate 76 near Philadelphia.
That was scared, I was fighting because she thought she was going to drown.
Outside Washington, D.C., 2 cars with multiple people inside swept off the road, some clinging to trees, one on the roof. Teams rescuing them with rafts and an airboat, no one seriously hurt. And across the Northeast, multiple tornado warnings. warnings.
Hurry up, it's right here.
This funnel cloud spotted in Ocean City, New Jersey, and homes throughout this Delaware neighborhood torn apart. Powerful winds from a likely tornado in Bertie County, North Carolina, flipping cars and splintering multiple homes. 2 were killed, 20 hurt. East of Richmond, Virginia, homes knocked from their foundations. Isaias making a dangerous late-night landfall just north of Myrtle Beach as a Category 1 hurricane with sustained winds of 85 miles an hour. Plus, life-threatening storm surge flooding homes, burying cars in sand, and filling homes with debris. In Oak Island, North Carolina, residents riding out the ferocious winds and surging water in the dark.
House shook. First time I was in a house that ever shook.
Power lines sparking fires on Ocean Isle Beach, multiple homes engulfed, thankfully empty as most had evacuated.
Back home, and more questions are being asked in relation to the drug bust of over 750 kilograms of cocaine that was destined for Australia. Opposition leader Belden Nama has questioned the joint operation between authorities in PNG and Australia amidst allegations of Papua New Guineans involved with Australians in the drug syndicate. He said this is a clear breach of national security.
It has been 3 days since the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary has provided an update on what is known as the biggest drug bust in the country's history. Over 750 kilograms of cocaine, including 50,000 Australian dollars in cash, were recovered last Friday. This afternoon, opposition leader Belden Nama said the government has mishandled this matter of national security right from the start, and serious questions on the involvement of PNG citizens need to be answered by the law enforcement agencies.
Our national security apparatus obviously is ineffective. Since the incident up till now, there has been no clear statement by our leaders, especially the Prime Minister.
Since the plane crash, Prime Minister James Marape and Civil Aviation Minister Lekwa Gure have called for a thorough investigation into this incident. The PNG Air Accidents Commission commenced investigations into the plane crash, but what many Papua New Guineans want to know is where the drugs came from and how it came into Papua New Guinea undetected.
And I say, this accidental exposure for what appears to be a major international crime syndicate operating in our source was the hand of God. I say incidental exposure because it was not serious police work, but an act of God via a plane crash at Papa Lea Lea that the illegal nature of this operation was exposed. I see no police intelligence work that Police Minister Brian Kramer can and his police commissioner can claim credit for it. If it did not crash, it would have gone unnoticed.
Since the announcement of the arrest of 4 PNG men and comments on further charges to be laid against the 52-year-old Australian pilot, no other details on the investigations have been released. Saklagunga, National EMTV News.
Trukai Sports is next, and Kilawani is at the sports desk.
Thank you, Jeremy. Hunters facing a restructure due to the new normal. Join me for the details in Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. As COVID-19 continues to impact a lot of sports in the country, sporting managements are given time to look into the governance aspect of their organizations. PNGRL is one such organization. The SP-PNG Hunters is part of the PNGRL's overarching plans in revisiting the systems of administration.
You asked the question.
Sandis Saka, chairman of the PNGRL, is taking the code another step further by considering a restructure of the Hunters program.
The restructure of the Hunters program again came out of a comprehensive review that we jointly did with the QRL, ourselves and our local partners, to look at the last 6 years, what we did well, what we could do better, and some things that we can fix. And
commercializing the Hunters is at the core of the restructure.
We needed to make Hunters become a bit more successful commercially, so that it can become sustainable. The challenge for us is that all our rugby league programs are mostly dependent on commercial and corporate sponsorships. That's unsustainable.
With 70 to 80% of PNGRL programs being sponsored by commercial partners, the need for diversifying revenue streams has been realized whilst maintaining sponsors as vital partners.
Rugby league has come to a point where it is a business now. So it must be able to raise its own funding to support its programs, and to do that we realized that, our mandate, PNGRL's mandate, by being members of the International Rugby League, we're a non-profit organization. But these entities, for them to survive commercially, they need to be able to become financially a bit more profitable, put a bit more business skills into how these teams are managed.
This restructure will also see the creation of a new board under the PNGRL.
By the time we conclude it this year, it will have a separate board and a separate management structure that is managed independently from the PNGRL, but still owned by the people of Papua New Guinea through the PNGRL.
One of Papua New Guinea's renowned athletes through the code of running, Nelson Stone, says strength and conditioning is a vital part of any athlete's development. The S&C trainer of the Hela Wigmen and the Bougainville FC shares his views with EMTV. Bagging 3 gold medals in the 2015 Pacific Games, Nelson Stone is the star of the tracks for Papua New Guinea. Coming from a sports-oriented family, he is the son of Papua New Guinea's taekwondo legend Jamoge Stone and brother to the late Andrew Stone. Nelson needs no introduction.
Stone going to try and lift.
His latest pursuits see him in the area of strength and conditioning, speed and agility, something he is very passionate about and believes is absent in many trainings.
All around the world, in top sporting academies and sports institute, I think what we are missing, explosive speed and power. That's what we need, the right type of conditioning training. That's what I believe in, that's how I see.
The strength and conditioning coach for the Bougainville FC believes with his input in the area of speed and agility, doubled by the brilliance of coach Percy Matayo, the club will only get better starting this weekend.
Especially with new coach Percy on board. He's such a brilliant coach that I've ever come across to seen him, how he talks and how he show authority towards his players, and in terms of what I do with the team for speed and agility, we have a lot of young boys in the team, maybe 1 or 2 experienced players in it, but the youth in the team is just amazing. The speed and the work they've been going through with me in the last couple of weeks, they look really ready. Hopefully we can do something good on the weekend.
A word of advice to the young and upcoming athletes.
Everybody don't have gift, but you can create your own gift. It's always in you. Whatever you're interested in, you go out there and pursue it. Have the drive and believe in what you want to achieve, and always be disciplined. Stay away from alcohol, and stay away from violent activities, and stay true to yourself. Yeah.
And Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Kiwi rugby players with contracts in Japan are being called back by their clubs as the country opens the borders for those with work visas. However, all this is happening as COVID-19 goes back into overdrive in Japan.
This is where some of our elite rugby players have been hunkering down, weathering the COVID-19 storm.
When lockdown happened, we said we're going to make it a thing like twice a week, get the boys in here and just have a bit of bit of routine.
But with players being recalled to their Japanese clubs, these sessions are numbered.
I'll look at getting back as soon as I can and being pretty cautious with things with that, and then I guess we'll make a decision whether Terry comes over.
Terry's Ryan Crotty's fiancée, and weighing up where the family go to is a difficult decision many players now face.
It's nice and safe here, and it's certainly be better, I think, to leave the family here for a bit. But it's a complicated situation. It's the idea of going away from the family for an indefinite period of time can be a little bit daunting.
Made even more stressful because Colin Slade's waiting on a special exemption as he doesn't hold a current working visa.
Ultimately we need to get to where we want to go to play and earn a living. And I was in France when it kicked off too, and it was pretty daunting, and we didn't know a lot about it at that stage, but I think everyone knows a little bit more and has better protocols in place now to be able to manage it, I guess, and live with it being around.
And that could be a reality. Japan only just recording its highest number of daily cases since the pandemic began. In the past week, players over there have been testing positive.
Uncertainty is probably difficult, but at the same time I've sort of been waiting for this point.
Those heading back over face a 4-month pre-season and up to a year away from home, making family time right now more important than ever.
It's a long way away in Tokyo, so be mindful to enjoy the time at home because, you don't know how long it'll be before we're back.
Staying fit, ready and optimistic as they brace for what comes next.
Former Wellington Phoenix star Sarpreet Singh has opened up about his first season in Germany. The Bayern Munich midfielder hopes to create a pathway for young New Zealanders.
It doesn't get much better than a domestic double in your debut Bundesliga season. But the dizzying heights of European football with Bayern Munich has made Sarpreet Singh hungry for more.
Everyone here wins titles and wins championships, and to be a part of a team that wins something is truly amazing.
Whether he's in Munich or elsewhere next season is yet to be determined.
Both possibilities are really good, and I'm in a position where whichever one I decide, I think it's a good decision.
Despite being able to learn under some of the world's best at Bayern, the young midfielder's game time has been limited.
Sometimes you feel hard done by, but sometimes I think you have to look at the bigger picture.
A short-term loan could help complete that picture with some precious experience.
But that's something I have to assess in the coming weeks, I guess, and speak with the coach and see what he really thinks is the best for me.
Where those possibilities end up in the transfer window is unknown. Regardless, the 21-year-old has impressed in his maiden season, sparking interest in what other talent is yet to be unearthed in New Zealand. Liberato Kakache is one young all-white tipped for a European move, but Singh believes more Phoenix starlets could follow in his footsteps.
There's also other boys, Callum McCall, for example, I think. He's been coming on doing well recently, and I think, for sure, everyone, I think, there's a lot of young boys that can cut it in Europe for sure.
For now, he's happy to pave the way as he looks to take the next step on his European adventure.
And that ends Trukai Sports. Jeremy will be back with the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Bye for now.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
Weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region: Port Moresby, cloudy with chance of occasional rain and drizzles. Daru, mostly fine though cloudy. Kerema, cloudy with a chance of occasional rain drizzles. Alotau and Popondetta, cloudy with a chance of occasional rain showers and drizzles. Over to the Momase region: Inlay, cloudy with occasional rain showers. Madang, cloudy with occasional rain showers and drizzles. Wewak and Vanimo, rain showers with occasional thunderstorms, clearing for a fine morning. Across to the New Guinea Islands in Lorengau, cloudy night with a chance of morning showers. KVM tonight will be fine, though possible morning showers. Kokopo, Rabaul and Kimbe, cloudy with evening rain showers and drizzles, then a fine morning expected. While over in Buka, chance of afternoon and evening showers and a fine morning tomorrow. And finally, in the Highlands region, across all centers, cloudy weather expected with chance of afternoon and evening showers, then morning fog patches. Renewal strong wind warnings for the waters of eastern Milne Bay Islands, including the eastern Coral Sea. Strong east to southeast wind surges of 20 to 30 knots are expected to continue for the next 24 hours, causing rough seas. All small crafts and boats are advised to take necessary precautions before going out to sea. Forecast for small crafts within the coastal waters of Papua New Guinea for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait to Daru, through the Gulf of Papua to Yule Island, to Hood Point to Summer Island, and with waters of Finschhafen through the VTS Dampier Straits to Sease Long Islands to Karkar Island, seas 1.0 to 1.5 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas 1.0 to 2.0 meters. Waters of Summer Island to East Cape to Cape Vogel, to Huon Gulf to Finschhafen, with waters of Karkar Island to Wewak to Aitape, to the northern PNG Indonesian border, with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and with waters of East and West New Britain, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of New Island and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas: coral seas, seas moderate to fresh with northeast to southeast winds at 15 to 20 knots with gusts to 25 knots. Solomon seas, seas moderate to fresh with east to southeast winds at 15 to 25 knots with gusts to 25 knots. Bismarck seas, seas slight to moderate with east to southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. Pacific Ocean, seas slight to moderate with east to southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
Now that ends today's news, sport and weather bulletin. From all of us here at EMTV, pleasant viewing, be safe, bye for now.